I have really been sitting with this channel and how I want to approach YouTube moving forward. Because when I was a teacher, I could always tell when I did not explain something clearly or thoroughly enough, because as soon as I would start talking or sharing something new, my students would be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. They'd get frustrated, they'd be confused. And that was always my signal. Like when I got a huge, hold on, we all need you to slow down, that was my signal that I had not done a good enough job as a teacher helping them transition into new material. And I have gotten that exact pushback from you all regarding my transition from more academic presentations of ancient spirituality to and the church and astrology to the actual practice of astrology, and just this sort of like very enthusiastic, okay, let's dive in, let's see how you can use this in real life. So I have been made aware, thanks to all of you, that I did not do a good job with this transition. And stupidly, honestly, I assumed that since the presentations were already out there, since I had already created these very technical, very academic presentations, and since I had written a whole book on the subject, I think I assumed that the information was there and that I didn't need to teach any more. But the truth is, no one wants to watch an academic presentation, okay? Even academics don't really we do because we have to, but it's not always our favorite thing unless we are inherently interested in the topic. So I have been discerning and I have been praying about ways that I can share this information in a way that is more of a partnership with you all, okay? And I think live streams are the answer. That's what I think. The fact of the matter is that I'm in year 2 of a 4 to 5 year program where my dissertation is going to be about the Catholic Church's approach to ancient spiritual practices, and in particular, astrology. So I also have a long way to go when it comes to gathering research and solidifying my case that the Catholic Church canon should incorporate astrology into its spiritual practices. And so I have a long way to go, and I have found your comments helpful. Like, your research has been helpful to me and pointing me in the direction that I should go. It's been helpful in supporting me and figuring out where are the gaps of knowledge of you, my audience. And so there's one comment in particular, and if I'm talking fast, that's because I have exactly 20 minutes until I have to go pick up my youngest from preschool, but I'm going to get through as much of this as I can today. So I have found a lot of your comments helpful, and there's one comment in particular that I loved because she basically put every single popular Catholic argument against astrology into one very long comment. We had a little back and forth. She ended up deleting her comment because I took her to task, and I'm going to tell you why. But it's comments like that that help me understand where the breakdown in communication, in understanding, in knowledge, where those breakdowns are. So what I'm going to do, and that's what helps me communicate this information to you even better when I recognize where those breakdowns are. So what I'm going to try and do, let's see if this works. Let's see if you guys like it. I am going to bring you alongside me as I put together this dissertation, and we are going to explore the church's relationship with astrology together, okay? I am going to systematically tackle every single one of your arguments, every single one of your concerns in these videos. We're going to do a Summa Astrology, if you will, okay? I'm going to tackle every single one, and I'm going to remain very open to being wrong. I want you to prove me wrong. I want you to try. Okay, so why are we doing this? Am I doing this because astrology is just so important that it's worth all of this time and all of this attention? No, it's not. We are doing this because the Catholic Church is the church of truth, and the truth matters. The truth matters, and believe it or not, the Catholic magisterium is exceptionally ambiguous regarding astrology. Okay, believe it or not. And so, being that it's the church of truth, we all, as members of the Catholic Church, have a responsibility to uphold the truth. okay? And we all have different areas of interest. And I happen to have been given this weird niche, this weird interest in astrology and ancient spirituality. So that's my niche. That's my little corner of truth that I, as a theologian, can help clarify for the church. And so that's what we're doing here. That's what we're going to do today and moving forward on this channel. So if that sounds interesting to you, if you find yourself thinking, if God was trying to speak through the stars or the sky or through any other means, I would want to know about it. But then I invite you to subscribe. Please like this video. That helps the reach so much. And please share it with anyone who you think could be interested in this investigation too. Okay, so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Janelle. I'm a doctoral student at St. Leo University, and I'm studying applied theology. And my focus academically is ancient spirituality and Catholicism, with an emphasis on astrology, because I am also a certified light-filled astrologer. And more important, I'm a wife of 9 years, a mom to 3 and soon to be 4 children. So this is my official pregnancy announcement on YouTube. I am expecting a child this summer, which is so exciting. So I definitely ask for your prayers as my pregnancy progresses. So let's dive in. As I've said before, I've been getting lots of comments and honestly, lots of really negative, to say the least, putting it kindly, comments on my videos from well-meaning Christians who truly, I truly believe that deeply down to their bones, they believe that astrology, every single kind of astrology, even the kind that doesn't make predictions, the kind of astrology that doesn't attempt to answer questions that we have no business answering, even non-predictive, mundane, and natal astrology, they think it's all demonic, which is fine, except it's not necessarily the Christian, and in particular, it's not necessarily the Catholic position on astrology. So again, I'm doing it live because I want to tackle this all with you. So bring every single argument you have against astrology right here. Let's talk about them. I won't get to them all today, but what I'm thinking is we'll do this as a series and I can tackle new questions. We can go through new primary documents every single week. What I really want to be doing, what I really feel called to be doing in the world is showing you what God is sharing with us about what's going on in the world through the report that goes out to all the earth. And I want to teach you how to use astrology to improve your life and relationships. That's what I really want to be doing, but I haven't been able to because number one, I haven't done a good enough job explaining why it's okay to practice non-predictive astrology. And number two, too many of you are afraid to practice astrology. And I've literally gotten comments like, it feels icky, it doesn't feel right, I don't know if it's safe. And that's totally fine and totally understandable. So the first thing I want to say right from the offset is that no Christian needs astrology. Every single human being needs Jesus, but you don't need astrology. So if it feels to you like a distraction, if it feels too weird, if it feels not right for you spiritually, that is no problem. You don't need it. Go about your merry way. But for me, astrology became a tool that I could use to support my marriage and my parenting in significant and substantial ways. And after I read what I'm going to share with you here, and after I learned that God communicates with us through astrology, again, the report that goes out to all the earth in Psalms, I realized that I wanted that report. I want to talk to God in every single way that He's attempting to talk to me. Like I mentioned before, there was one comment in particular that really illustrated to me that I need to go back to basics before I move forward. And I really need to address a lot of these arguments against astrology that are floating around online. So this particular commenter, who will remain anonymous, she deleted her comment. I wasn't super nice in my response, but that's because she made a lot of mistakes. This commenter left a very long, very detailed message sharing all of the Catholic arguments against astrology. And while I appreciated her bringing those to me, she did not do her homework. And so that is one warning that I will give to each of you. I invite you and desire that you bring me your points, your well thought out points regarding astrology, but don't send me quotes from manuscripts or books that are readily available without having read them yourself. ChatGPT is not a reliable source, okay? And I am well read. So if you misquote Aquinas, if you misquote the Catechism, if you exaggerate the church or bring up councils that are regional, like Braga and Laodicea, that those are not universally binding on the church, okay? If you bring those things up as evidence, I will take you to task. We have a responsibility as the Church of Truth to be intelligent. We have to be intelligent Christians and misquotes and comments that distort the saints' words and bend the church's teachings to your will, not God's, when you use them to make the point that you want to make and not the point that is actually true, that type of comment will not be tolerated here. Listen, I don't like to argue, but I don't mind. So we are going to review her comment today, and I'm going to go over a few resources that may be helpful for you as you are doing your own research. And we're going to hit number one, or I guess it's number two. Number one, she had responded to something that I had said that did not have bearing on this topic. And I literally have 6 minutes, I think, before I have to leave. So this is probably the only one we're going to get to today. So I'm definitely going to have to come back and I'm going to have to make this a series. So she starts with non-predictive astrology is a modern rebranding and an oxymoron. Natal charts, character readings, and auspicious timings are predictive and divinatory. Okay. You can see there's a lot to this comment, but we're just going to start right here because I am going to show you how non-predictive astrology, natal charts, and different types of astrology. Non-predictive astrology is not a modern rebranding because non-predictive astrology has existed for centuries and it's not an oxymoron. And I'm going to show you how the Catholic Church has endorsed some types of astrology while rejecting other types of astrology. We're going to walk through a primary source document. Let me scroll up. This is Speculum Astronomae. This was written by Saint Albert the Great, who is a doctor of the church. Okay, so we are going to go over Albertus Magnus, Albert the Great's writings on astrology. This is a primary source document, and I have my own copy printed out right here, and I also have it highlighted. So I'm going to look for what I want to share with you here, and then I am going to pull it up for you so that you can see it on the screen. So we're going to start at page 209. So you are welcome. I will let you know, drop me a comment if you would like the link to this. You have to get it through an academic site. I'm going to see if I can just get you the PDF, or I'll just drop you the link to the site and then you can decide if you want to pay for it or you can figure out how to download it. But okay, we are going to start with his intention on writing this book. And it was in response to the Catholic Church banning books for Catholics. And essentially, he was writing this to clarify which books, in particular on astrology, which books should be banned and which books are in alignment with the teachings of the church and with theology. Okay. So, and remember, St. Albert the Great, he was an exceptionally intelligent person. He was a teacher to Thomas Aquinas, okay? And just this amazing theologian. I wanted to show you guys this too. I have his book. It's a teeny tiny book. It's called On Union with God. It's a very thin, very tiny book, but it is a mystical book. It is so lovely and it just shows his love for God, and it shows just his relationship with God, and it's so very beautiful. So I highly recommend it if you want to learn more about the theology of St. Albert the Great. But okay, so since many of the previous mentioned books, by pretending to be concerned with astrology, disguise necromancy, they cause noble books written on the same subject, astrology, to be contaminated in the eyes of good men and render them offensive and abominable. Therefore, a certain man zealous for faith and philosophy, putting each in its proper place, of course, has applied his mind towards making a list of both types of books. Okay, what is he saying? He's saying there is good types of astrology and there are bad types of astrology. And of course, there are good and bad types of astrological works and books. And he's saying, what I'm doing here is I am making a differentiation between the different types of astrology, the ones that are acceptable and the types that are unacceptable, and by extension, their books. Okay, wanted to clarify that. All right, let's jump forward. We're going to jump to chapter 3 because in chapters 1 and 2, he discusses astronomy. So this is page 219. 219. So we're going to go into chapter 3. So he's talking about the second great wisdom. So he was talking about astronomy before. Now, he's also talking about astronomy, but he is referring to the science of the judgments of the stars, okay? Which provides a link between natural philosophy or natural sciences like astronomy and metaphysics, which is what astrology would be considered. And I just love, if I'm going to take, let's see, I have like 2 more minutes. I'm going to take the next 2 minutes and I'm going to read this quote to you. I just think it's just exceptional. We might end up reading this whole page. I might read this whole page to you. And if that's so boring, then you can let me know and I won't do that to you again. But I think that this is really worth reading. Okay, remember, this is written by a saint, a Catholic saint in the Catholic Church. For if God, most high in his supreme wisdom, has ordered this world in such a manner that he who is the living God and the Lord of a heaven, which itself is not living, should wish to operate through the created things found in these 4 inferior elements, using the mute and deaf stars as if they were instruments. And if we have one metaphysical science, which teaches us how to consider the causer of causes amongst the causes of things, and another natural science, which teaches us to experience the creator of creatures amongst the created things, then what could be more desirable to a thinking man than to have a middle science, which might teach us how this and that change in the mundane world is affected by the changes in the celestial bodies. And if the inferior motion obeys the superior motion, which Aquinas outlines in Summa Theologica, is this not one of the primary proofs that there is only one God? Astrology, what he's saying is astrology is a proof of God. Oh my goodness. Glorious and sublime in heaven and on earth. For indeed, if there were different principles, or if he had an associate, either in heaven or on earth, so that the kingdom of heaven and the kingdom of earth were different, it is improbable that this obedience of the inferior to the superior would be fixed, persisting without deviation. Now, however, it is clearly proven by means of this science, astrology, that the obedience referred to exists and perseveres without change, whereby the more fittingly he is shown to be the prince of all things, and their beginning by this means astrology, so it more intensely provokes men to love God. Astrology more intensely provokes men to love God. It makes men grow in a love of God. Wow. For if he is unknown, he is loved. He is not loved. Nor, since he is the first, can he be known by what is prior. Nor can he be known through his own essence, since he is incomprehensible. It remains, therefore, that he is known by what is posterior, namely by his glorious effects. These are man and the ordering of the universe up to himself, namely the ordering of the supercelestial beings, so that they provide guidance to rational beings, and the ordering of the elements in which the material aspects of the rational beings are measured. No human science attains this ordering of the universe as perfectly as the science of the judgments of the stars does. The judgments, the logos, the word of the stars, not just the nomi, not just the number or the law of the stars. So that this should be more obvious, I shall descend to its parts, mentioning almost all of the praiseworthy books which Latin culture impoverished in this subject, okay, because they got a lot of this information from the Moors, impoverished in this subject, has begged from the riches of other languages by means of translators. Okay, so he is going over why astrology is important and why it is a worthwhile subject and why we should, as the church, save these books. And how astrology points us to God. It's gorgeous. I'm going to show you how there are different types of astrology and how that's not just a modern creation. Okay, so we're going to go to 229. So chapter 7 deals with mundane astrology. And the way that I know that is because he's talking about the revolution of the years of the world. And it's the signifier of the hour at the entrance of the sun into the first minute of the sign of Aries. This is the Lord of the year. And this is a mundane astrological indicator of what is the energy of the year. Okay, it's kind of like a energetic forecast, kind of like a weather forecast. Okay, so there's a difference between forecasting and predicting. Okay, predicting is saying this thing is going to happen at this time and in this place, right? A forecast is, well, let me take out my app right now and pull up what the weather's going to be like next Saturday so that I know what time I want to take my kids to the park, right? Forecasting is not sinful, right? We make economic forecasts, we make political forecasts, right? We do this all of the time. We try and look at patterns from the past to see what might happen again in the future, right? And this is a way that I mean, good gosh, if like farmers couldn't forecast what the weather would be like, we would be in a really tough spot as human beings. So this is mundane astrology, and that is sort of like an astrological weather forecast. Okay. Now we're going to move into, and this is the last thing I'm going to do, and then we're just going to come back. Maybe I'll come back later this week. We're going to move to chapter 8. He discusses the part on nativities. Okay. So it teaches us about the nativities of those for whom there are signifiers of the growth of the child. Okay. And it just kind of goes into what might be going on with a kiddo. And, they talk a lot about the occurrences of disease and of health in the body. And medical astrology was so, so important for those in the Middle Ages, of the acquisition of riches and where its mother is and where its father is, and how the mother and father impact the child and how much of a impact they have on the child's personality. When I think about my own children, is it feels like a communication, a report from God regarding these are the predispositions, these are the gifts, these are the tendencies that I've given to your child, but they have the free will to do with this what they will. And I will tell you, in my practice, I have refuted many things. I have rebuked many things in my chart where I'm like, oh, this is showing something that I don't really like. I'm going to rebuke that, and I'm going to work to change that because I don't want to have that experience, right? And so that's something that I love about being Catholic, and something that I love about the way that I practice what's called light-filled astrology, is that none of this is permanent. None of this is fate. And God is the supreme ruler of all and can change anything. Okay, and then the last thing I just want to show is that there's a section devoted to interrogations, which is judicial astrology. And there's another chapter later on. I'm out of time, but there's another chapter later on that talks about elective astrology as well. So I just wanted to show you guys that. I wanted to show you Speculum Astronomae from St. Albert the Great so that you could see how that answers a couple of things here. That non-predictive astrology is not a modern branding, and that that the different types of astrology were actually seen for so many years in the church as proof of God and as a means to increase our love of God. And then that also disproves where she says here, so we can skip down to chapter 6, where Albert the Great endorsed it. She said that's false. Albert the Great did not endorse astrology as it is practiced today. They explicitly rejected judicial and divinatory astrology. She clearly did not read this section of the Summa Theologica, and I encouraged her to read Speculum Astronomae, because that was what we just read was a direct endorsement of astrology. Okay, I'm going to come back to this. This was kind of fun. I like going over primary sources with you guys. Let me know, did you like this? Do you prefer my regular videos? Should I just create a regular video that I can go back through and edit and like post on the screen the direct quotes? Or do you kind of like seeing the entire primary source document? Let me know what you think, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye, everyone.